Sitting at a classic bar where people gathered, chatted, and enjoyed refreshments, with the clinking of glasses and music from the jukebox, was an unforgettable part of childhood. Simple but meaningful moments that any child would be excited about. Have you ever experienced this? Please share in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. Learning to earn, count, and spend real money early on. From a very young age, children learned how to earn money, count money, and spend real money. Going to the store alone, handing over loose change, and receiving change back was not just a simple transaction, but also a practical lesson about the value of money and financial management. This is very different from today's younger generation, who often tend to think that plastic cards, credit cards, are the only way to pay for everything. The skill of using cash, feeling the weight of coins in your hand, and carefully calculating to buy your favorite item was an important part of growing up for children in the 1960s. High-risk toys were accepted. Science experiment kits that could emit toxic fumes to plastic melting ovens like the Thing Maker. Children learned early on that life had dangers and that they needed to be careful when using certain toys. BB guns, for example, were considered a common toy, and almost every child wanted one. Unlike today, when toys with choking hazards are recalled from shelves, children of the 60s were built differently. They weren't afraid of burns, scratches, or scars. In fact, these were even seen as badges of honor. Other toys were also challenging and sometimes dangerous in their own ways. Rock'em Sock'em Robots was a classic toy that children across the country loved, trying to make the robots' heads pop off. Major Matt Mason, a Mattel action figure, could bend, but its wireframe often broke at the knees or elbows over time. Wham-O Super Balls was another unique toy that children loved to bounce as high as possible, followed by a race to chase them. The Creepy Crawler's Rubber Insect Maker was also a fun activity, where you poured liquid into molds and baked them in a small oven at 350 degrees to create your own rubber creatures. Burns, scratches, and scars were considered badges of honor. As mentioned, children of the 1960s were raised differently. They didn't mind small burns, scratches, or scars on their bodies. On the contrary, these marks were considered badges of honor. They were proof of adventures, daring games, and lessons learned from real life. A scar on the knee might be a memory of falling off a bicycle, while a small burn could come from playing with dangerous toys. It was a life attitude that today's generation might find hard to understand, as safety and child protection are paramount. Having to wait for rotating films at local movie theaters. The movie-watching experience in the 1960s was very different from today. There was no instant access to popular films, and we had to wait patiently. That's because downtown movie theaters usually only had 1 or 2 screens. Movies would rotate weekly or bi-weekly. For most of us, there were no multiplexes to show every new release. Large shopping malls were also just beginning to emerge. This created a special sense of anticipation and excitement when a new movie came out, as it was the only chance to see it for a certain period. This experience is completely different from instantly accessing any movie on online platforms today. Banana seat bikes. The 60s marked the advent of a childhood icon, the banana seat bike. With its long, curved seat and colorful design, these bikes made you feel like you were cruising in style. The most popular was the Schwinn Stingray, with high handlebars that looked like a chopper motorcycle, instantly making it the coolest bike on the street. Every kid wanted this bike on their wish list. Whether you were showing off your new bike or gathering with friends to race around the neighborhood, these bicycles were an important part of childhood. They were designed for comfort with their special, distinctive seat, and often vibrant colors made them a true symbol of the 60s. Among the things we've just mentioned, what do you remember most about your 60s childhood? Or what surprised you the most? Please leave a comment below. The popularity of Silly Putty. Do you still remember the joy of peeling open the red egg containing Silly Putty? You could bounce it, stretch it, and most fascinatingly, use it on newspaper to create an exact copy of your favorite comic strip. That moment was truly priceless. Silly Putty is still sold today, but very few families still keep printed newspapers at home, and children today certainly no longer read comic strips in newspapers. Therefore, the popularity of Silly Putty is no longer what it once was, when it was a symbol of creativity and entertainment tied to newspaper reading culture. The decline of printed newspapers in many households has changed how children interact with these simple toys. TV dinner was a breakthrough. With television programming still quite new in the 1960s, the idea of watching TV while eating dinner was a breakthrough by the Swanson Company. The first TV dinner was packaged in a compartmentalized foil tray that you could heat in the oven. They quickly became a staple in family freezers across the country. Their novelty made Swanson TV dinners extremely popular, and other companies also began offering their own versions. This idea was particularly favored by working mothers and quickly became a staple of middle-class American families. The compartmentalized tray even had a separate section for dessert, often a fruit cobbler or brownie, which was usually scalding hot compared to the main dish. Jell-O was a complete and surprising meal. Speaking of food, the 60s brought some dishes that might make many young people today cringe. Jell-O is just a dessert today, but back then, it could be an entire meal. Our mothers experimented with putting everything into Jell-O, and truly, everything. If you find a cookbook from the 1960s, you can be sure it will have a recipe for molded gelatin containing ham, vegetables, or fish. Jell-O even introduced savory flavors like celery, mixed vegetables, and Italian salad. Imagine a child sitting in front of a wobbly gelatin plate with hidden pieces of meat inside. If you had a mother who made you finish your dinner before leaving the table, you might have been sitting there for quite a while if the meal included this special Jell-O dish. Western movies were everything to a boy. If you grew up in the 1960s, Western movies were everything to a boy. John Wayne was the star in movies. Shows like Gunsmoke and Bonanza were what you watched on TV. Bonanza was also the first Western to be broadcast in color, so it was exciting to find someone in the neighborhood who had a color TV to watch it. If you weren't watching Bonanza, you'd be outdoors with your cowboy hat or coonskin hat and a cap gun strapped to your side. I'm not sure when I last saw a child playing outside with a cap gun, but in the 1960s, all of us did. These toy guns made a pop sound and even produced smoke when fired, adding realism to any outdoor shootout. First job with a salary of $1 to $1.50 per hour. Getting your first job in the 1960s meant you were paid a pretty substantial wage from $1 to $1.50 per hour. This was still a big achievement and meant you could earn a significant amount of pocket money, more than the loose change collected from returning cans and bottles. For teenagers at that time, a minimum wage job was not just about earning money, but also taught them how to be a good employee. That started with wearing a clean and ironed uniform, being on time, and working hard. The last time I went to McDonald's, the sign listed a starting salary of $15 per hour, but the employees were in casual clothes and I had to wait 20 minutes to get the wrong order. How much things have changed. Pogo sticks hop rod? In the 60s, pogo sticks were everywhere, especially the hop rod, advertised as the first powered pogo stick. Yes, a newly designed gasoline-powered pogo stick. Children spent hours trying to balance and bounce on the sidewalk, swaying until they found their rhythm or fell down with laughter. It wasn't as easy as it looked. With just a metal frame, a spring, and a few footrests, it took real skill to keep going. The click-clack of the spring, the fleeting feeling of weightlessness, that was pure magic. And if you could bounce all the way home without stopping, that was something to brag about. A scraped knee here and there was just part of the experience. No one worried too much about it back then. Ant farms. Ant farms were a popular way for children to get close to nature. You would sit for hours watching the ants build tunnels, carry food, and work together like a small army. Kids were incredibly excited to observe them and watch daily to see the ant colony grow. You would tap on the glass to try to make them move or wonder how they knew their way. It was one of those simple yet captivating ways to learn about life, teamwork, and patience. And honestly, having a small ant colony living right in your room was pretty cool. Fizzies. Carbonated drink tablets. Fizzies were the 60s version of instant fun. These small tablets could turn a glass of water into a carbonated, bubbly drink in seconds. You just dropped a tablet into a glass of water, watched it fizz, and then enjoyed a sweet, fizzy drink without needing to open a soda can. It wasn't just about the flavor, but the whole process that made it exciting. With so many flavors to choose from, fizzies became a favorite way to cool off in the summer or make any occasion a little more special. For many kids, it was like making their own soda right in their kitchen. Shared party line telephones with neighbors. Before private phone lines existed, having a phone line was a big deal. Many families shared lines with neighbors, which meant you could pick up the phone and accidentally overhear someone else's conversation, whether you wanted to or not. And honestly, sometimes we had a little fun with that. But once you got your own private line, it was truly a game changer. No more waiting for others to finish talking or worrying about interruptions. The phone became your private space, perfect for chatting with friends. Collecting green and blue chip stamps. In those days, shopping came with a special reward. Green and blue chip stamps were given when you spent a certain amount at the store. We would collect them in small booklets, and when we had enough, we could redeem them for all sorts of items, from kitchenware to toys. It was like a little treasure hunt. Every trip to the store brought us closer to a new item, and we loved flipping through the catalogs to pick out what we would get. For many families, those stamps were a fun little bonus every time we shopped. Metal can openers, church keys. Opening a soda can meant using a metal can opener. These openers had a sharp pointed end on one side and a flat edge on the other, about 4 to 5 inches long. They were often given away by soda and beer companies with their logos etched into the metal. Back then, it wasn't as simple as pulling a pop-top tab. You had to twist the opener into the can and pry it open. It might take a little effort, but the first sip after putting in the work tasted even sweeter. This was a small, everyday life skill that today's generation doesn't need to know. Smoking was common everywhere, and for everyone. In the 60s, smoking was as common as drinking coffee. You could light up almost anywhere, on planes and restaurants and even in hospitals. It wasn't just about cigarettes, it was a part of the culture. Advertisements with glamorous actors and catchy slogans flooded magazines, and cigarette brands almost became part of a person's identity. Smoking was so prevalent that even pregnant women were regularly seen lighting up, despite the health risks we know today. Whether you were relaxing with friends or taking a break at work, cigarettes were everywhere, and for many, it seemed they always would be. Huge ashtrays filled with cigarette butts were a familiar sight in every room of every home. The console TV was the center of the living room. The television was the center of every living room, and in the 60s, it wasn't just any TV, it was a console TV. These bulky TVs with wooden frames often took up an entire wall and were designed as stylish furniture as well as technology. Sound came from large built-in speakers, and you had to adjust the rabbit ears to get the best picture. There was no remote control, so you were the remote, having to get up to change channels or adjust the volume. But even with those extra efforts, it was a magical time to watch TV, with the whole family gathering together to watch the latest episode of their favorite show. Do you remember the first color TV show you ever watched? The Jetsons on ABC? Although it only lasted 24 episodes, it made children wonder what the future would be like. Going to the drive-in theater. Nothing captures the essence of a night out quite like a trip to the drive-in theater. You would drive up to a giant outdoor screen, park, and tune your car radio to hear the movie. It wasn't just about the film, but the whole experience. Families would load up their cars with blankets and snacks, while groups of friends or couples enjoyed the chance to relax in the back seat. And if you were lucky, you'd get to watch 2 movies in a row, extending the fun under the stars. The drive-in wasn't just a movie, it was an event, a place where the magic of cinema came alive in the open air. What a great way to combine entertainment with the private space of the family car. Soda fountains. Soda fountains were wonderful places to get a cool drink and have fun moments. These classic counters were always lively, serving everything from cold sodas to thick milkshakes. People would gather with friends, chat, and enjoy a refreshing treat on a hot afternoon. The soda jerk behind the counter would skillfully and quickly mix your favorite drink, and there was something special about the atmosphere there. The clinking of glasses, the hum of conversations, and classic tunes from the jukebox. It was a place where life's simple pleasures were shared, and every visit felt like a small celebration. World Book Encyclopedia Set. Before Google existed, the World Book Encyclopedia Set was our main source of knowledge to explore the world. As children, we loved flipping through the colorful pages, whether for school assignments or simply to look up something that sparked our curiosity. These books were filled with fascinating facts about everything, from outer space to ancient history. We would gather around, eagerly searching for answers or sharing an interesting piece of information we found. For many families, owning a complete encyclopedia set was a big deal, like having the whole world at your fingertips. Paper maps were essential travel companions. Before the era of GPS, if you wanted to go somewhere, you had to rely on these trustworthy paper maps to guide you. Whether it was a weekend road trip or a cross-country adventure, spreading out the map and planning the route was part of the fun. We would spread them out on the car hood or the kitchen table, tracing our journey with our fingers and marking towns along the way. There was no zoom function or automatic rerouting, just a large, detailed map showing the world one road at a time. I still keep a few maps in my car's glove compartment, and with them, I never have to worry about losing signal or having no internet. The national anthem playing when TV stations signed off. In the 60s, the national anthem was played when television stations signed off for the night. After hours of broadcasting, the screen would slowly fade to black, and the national anthem would echo through the room. It was a solemn moment marking the end of the day. Everyone would stop what they were doing, perhaps to reflect for a moment, as the image of the stars and stripes, the American flag, appeared on screen. For many, it was a familiar routine, bringing a sense of comfort before static took over the airwaves until morning. Photo slides and slide projectors. Photo slides and slide projectors were the best way to revisit and share special moments. After a vacation or a family gathering, the living room would be filled with excitement as the projector clicked, one slide after another, bringing your memories to the wall. It wasn't just about looking at pictures, but about the whole family gathering, turning off the lights and reminiscing. Sure, sometimes you had to endure a long, drawn-out slideshow, but there was something magical about seeing those moments unfold before your eyes, one slide at a time. It was a family ritual, a way to connect with the past and share joy with loved ones. The magical feeling of the 1969 moon landing. The moon landing in 1969 was one of those moments you'll never forget. That feeling of extreme exhilaration when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface, and we all thought, wow, we're actually doing this. It was as if the impossible had become reality. Even if you couldn't understand every detail, you still knew something big was happening. That small step for one man seemed like a giant leap for all mankind. We all wanted to grow up and become astronauts. We watched all the rocket launches, landings, and returns on our school TVs. The dream of becoming an astronaut was common, fostering an interest in science and exploration. Zebra stripe gum. If you were a kid in the 60s, zebra stripe gum was a must-have. With its colorful striped wrapper, it stood out from all other gums. The flavor didn't last long, but that didn't stop us. We'd chew a piece, blow bubbles, and enjoy every bit of it while the flavor lasted. It wasn't about the long-lasting flavor, but about the joy. Sharing a piece with friends in the bold, eye-catching wrapper made it unique. A&W drive-up restaurants. A&W drive-up restaurants were truly unique. You'd park your car, and in a moment, a car hop would roller skate to your vehicle, bringing your meal on a tray, often a root beer float or a burger. The roller skates just made everything more fun. It wasn't just about ordering a meal, but the whole experience, from watching the car hops glide around to enjoying the food with friends or family. Playing outside all day in the summer. The 60s was a time of typical childhood moments, like playing outside all day during summer. There were no smartphones, no video games, or internet to keep children indoors. Summer was a time for exploration, adventure, and creativity. Children would go out early in the morning and return when the streetlights came on, with dirty feet and muddy clothes. Games like baseball, tag, or simply wandering and exploring the neighborhood shaped the childhood of a generation. Backyards, parks, and streets became vast playgrounds where imagination soared. Family road trips in station wagons without seatbelts. The 60s saw family road trips in station wagons become an icon. Back then, there were no seatbelt laws, so you could sprawl out in the back seat to color, read, or just relax during long drives. This created a sense of freedom and space that children today cannot imagine in a fully safety-equipped car. Station wagons were the common car for every middle-class family. It was part of the family adventure, with the whole family piling into the car to go to the drive-in theater or for summer travel. The feeling of lying on your back looking up at the car ceiling or squeezing in with siblings on long trips is an unforgettable memory. Tang, the must-have astronaut drink. Do you remember drinking Tang? The orange powder was poured into water, where it magically turned into a super sweet neon orange drink. It might not sound very appealing, but when astronaut John Glenn drank Tang during his historic first orbit of the Earth in 1962, every child knew they had to drink it. With Tang being the astronaut's drink, it quickly became a must-have beverage in every home. The power of advertising and its association with space transformed a simple powder into a symbol of pioneering and the dream of exploration. Space food sticks. If Tang was the astronaut's drink, then space food sticks were their food. These were a popular lunch item with a chewy texture and a slightly peanut butter-like taste. They were often found in children's lunchboxes, bringing a little taste of space into everyday meals. Like Tang, these foods represented children's fascination with space and the achievements of the space program. Easy Bake Oven Toy. For those who couldn't wait to grow up and be responsible for cooking their own meals, there was the Easy Bake Oven. Kenner released this iconic toy in 1963, which came with recipes for baking cookies, cakes, and other treats themselves. This toy oven was not just a toy, but also a tool that helped children learn basic cooking and baking skills, stimulating creativity and independence. Being able to freely and safely explore the culinary world right in their own kitchen made this item a legendary object that everyone knew. The debut of the Beatles and Beatlemania. If you were a kid in 1964 and your parents owned a TV, you surely witnessed the Beatles' American debut on The Ed Sullivan Show. Their appearance created a wild craze, and this reaction became known as Beatlemania. Their mop-top haircuts inspired children to get similar haircuts or buy Beatles-like wigs. Their ankle-high boots also became fashionable, followed by collarless jackets, inspiring many to wear them. The Beatles were a cultural phenomenon that changed fashion, music, and even the attitudes of a generation. American Bandstand and trendy dances. Hosted by Dick Clark, American Bandstand was a must-watch TV show for every child growing up in the 1960s. The show not only helped us discover new artists like Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, Sonny and Cher, and Tina Turner, but also taught us trendy dances like the locomotion, the Watusi, and the mashed potato. American Bandstand was a window into the world of music and youth culture, where dances spread and new trends were formed. You could learn to express yourself through music and movement, becoming part of a growing cultural movement. Bomb shelters and duck and cover drills. Bomb shelters, along with duck and cover drills, sitting down and shielding oneself, were quite common in the early 60s. This was due to the nuclear threat from the Soviet Union. President Kennedy even suggested building shelters in case of a nuclear exchange. Children would be taught how to react in case of a nuclear attack, seeking shelter under school desks or other sturdy objects. Yeah, but how many of these do you recognize? Is there anything we missed that you'd like to add? What being rich looked like in the 1960s. The 1960s, an era of dreams and aspirations where even the smallest conveniences spoke volumes about success. Back then, things that seem simple today, like an extra bathroom or a dishwasher, weren't just conveniences. They were coveted status symbols. Life was completely elevated for families who owned these modern marvels. Join us as we explore the subtle yet powerful signs that showed you were living a luxurious life in the 60s. Today, let's dive together into the stories of quiet wealth from a bygone era. And perhaps you'll find a piece of your own memories or those of your loved ones in the symbols below. Let's get started. The dishwasher, the future in the kitchen. In the 1960s, owning a dishwasher in your kitchen made people think you weren't just lucky, but that you were living a luxurious life. Imagine this. Back then, most families still had to wash dishes by hand after every meal, a time-consuming and effort-intensive chore, especially for large families. The arrival of a machine that did it automatically felt like a gift from the future, a technological miracle that freed up the hands and time of the women in the family. A dishwasher wasn't just a practical appliance, it was a bold statement of class and financial capability. It gleamed like a chrome trophy under the kitchen lights, whispering to every guest that this family could afford both leisure time and advanced technology. This was by no means a cheap investment at the time, a luxury only families with extra cash in the budget dared to consider. Every time the dishwasher's motor hummed softly, it wasn't just the sound of convenience, but a symphony of prosperity, bringing comfort and allowing the family more time to gather after a long day instead of rushing around the sink. It was a symbol of a well-ordered life, where mundane chores were automated to make way for precious family moments. It showed that you not only had enough money to buy it, but also enough to pay for your convenience and time, something many in the 60s could only dream of. Color TV, especially more than one. A magic window to entertainment. In the 1960s, few home upgrades garnered more admiration than a color television. Think back to those widespread black and white TVs which could only display a monotone world with two basic shades. Then suddenly, the color TV appeared like a marvel, transforming familiar entertainment into something vibrant and magical. Shows like Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color became an entirely new experience, a visual feast many had to visit a neighbor's house to behold. Color TVs at the time were very expensive and novel, so not many could afford them. It wasn't just an entertainment device, but also a luxurious piece of furniture, often placed prominently in the living room, with its wooden casing carefully polished. But if a family had more than one TV, that truly signaled they were rich. Imagine a color TV in the main living room, and a black and white or even a second color TV in the bedroom or family room. This not only spoke to superior financial capability, but also demonstrated a priority for entertainment and personal convenience in every living space. Families with multiple TVs became the neighborhood's focal point, where friends and neighbors frequently visited to watch colorful movies and music shows together. The presence of a color TV, especially more than one, transformed the owning family into an attractive destination, a symbol of modern and affluent living. It didn't just buy fun, it bought admiration and social standing. 2 bathrooms, the ultimate personal convenience. Most homes back then were built with just one bathroom, so if your house had 2, it was simply unbelievable. Imagine the typical 1960s morning scene. Everyone lining up, waiting to use that single bathroom. Congestion, rushed moments, and sometimes even small squabbles were unavoidable. That's why the presence of a second bathroom in the house wasn't just a convenience. It was a revolution in family living. A second bathroom offered more privacy and made mornings run smoother for everyone, from brushing teeth and washing faces to getting ready for school or work. It eased the pressure, creating comfort and privacy that many families couldn't achieve. Furthermore, adding a bathroom was a significant expense, covering not only construction costs but also expensive materials, plumbing systems, and fixtures. Owning a home with 2 bathrooms was a clear sign of wealth, not just materialistically, but in the ability to provide a more convenient and comfortable life for family members. It implicitly stated that this house was not only spacious but also designed to meet every need of a large, prosperous family. It was an investment in quality of life, a declaration of the comfort you deserved. Central air conditioning system, stepping into a cool future. Stepping into a home with central air conditioning in the 1960s was like stepping into the future. Recall those sweltering summer days of the 60s when most people endured stifling heat or relied on noisy, inefficient oscillating fans or window air conditioners. These window units often took up a large part of the window space, created bothersome noise, and only cooled a small area. But with central air, cool air spread quietly and evenly throughout every corner of the house, providing a wonderful sense of comfort and relaxation. Central air conditioning made a home feel luxurious and modern, transforming it into a cool oasis amidst the scorching summer heat. This was a significant investment, not only in terms of complex initial installation costs, but also substantial monthly utility bills. Being able to afford to keep a home constantly cool and comfortable was a clear sign of prosperity. It not only provided physical comfort, but also symbolized an upscale lifestyle, where the family didn't have to worry about electricity costs or battling the heat. Central air conditioning was an affirmation that you could live a much more comfortable life than the majority. A quiet pride felt every time you opened the door to guests entering your cool home. A private room for each child, the first private space. In the 60s, many children had to share bedrooms, sometimes 2 or 3 kids in one room, or even on cramped bunk beds. So the idea of each child having their own private room was a big deal, a luxury not every family could provide. This not only showed that the family had enough money to buy a larger house with more space, but also that they were investing in each child's individual development. A private room gave children their first sense of privacy and independence. It was a sacred space where they could retreat, study, play, and decorate their room in their own style, expressing their personality and interests. It was a place where children could develop self-reliance and responsibility. Having a private room also demonstrated parents' consideration for their children's individual needs, something not always prioritized in that era. It also conveyed the truth that your family had enough space for every member to breathe, enough room for space not to become the source of daily squabbles. This brought peace and order to the family, a privilege many large families could only dream of. 2 living rooms, a sign of prestige and luxury. Having not just 1 but 2 living rooms in a home was a subtle yet clear sign of prestige and class in the 1960s. Imagine a typical house with a single common living area. But if you had 2 living rooms, it meant your home wasn't merely a dwelling but a miniature mansion, designed with clearly defined purposes. One room was usually reserved for daily family use, where everyone could relax, watch TV, or chat comfortably. The other, however, was a formal space, carefully arranged for entertaining guests, hosting important gatherings, or simply showcasing the homeowner's refined taste and wealth. Sometimes the furniture in this formal living room was even covered in plastic to keep it pristine and stain-free, making the room even more special and opulent. It showed that the family not only had excess space, but also the means to decorate beautifully and maintain a luxurious living environment, bringing a sense of prestige to the home. 2 living rooms were proof that your family could afford to divide spaces by function, creating a clear boundary between personal living and social entertaining, demonstrating an organized and stylish lifestyle. 2-story house, the architectural symbol of prosperity. In a decade dominated by single-story ranch-style homes designed to sprawl across one level, a 2-story house stood out distinctly and powerfully. It didn't just offer more space, it was a confident symbol of financial stability and prosperity. These homes often featured additional bedrooms for larger families, or special functional rooms like a home office, a reading nook, or a separate entertainment room, which were hard to come by in single-story houses. Sometimes they even came equipped with an intercom system, allowing family members to easily communicate between floors without having to shout. A modern convenience at the time. Owning a two-story home brought a new sense of separation and privacy, especially with common living areas on the first floor and bedrooms on the second. This created a clear boundary between public and private spaces, bringing comfort and peace to each member. This was a symbol that your family had more options in arranging living spaces, unconstrained by size or structure. A two-story house was not just a major asset, but also a work of architecture, a prominent highlight in the neighborhood, reflecting the homeowner's aesthetic taste and financial capability. It was an affirmation that you not only had enough money to buy a large house, but also the vision to build a luxurious living space, surpassing the common standards of the era. 2 cars in the garage, especially a Cadillac. Freedom and style on every road. In the 1960s, having 2 cars in the garage was a sure sign of ultimate success and convenience. Most families back then had only 1 car to meet basic needs like commuting, grocery shopping, or picking up children. Owning a second car was not just a luxury but a significant investment, including the cost of purchase, insurance, gas, and maintenance. 2 cars brought substantial convenience and freedom to the whole family. Mom could go shopping or pick up the kids without waiting for Dad to come home from work, or vice versa. Dad could use the other car for work without affecting the family's schedule. This demonstrated a well-organized and convenient life, where all activities ran smoothly. And if one of those cars was a Cadillac, that was the ultimate symbol of supreme luxury. A Cadillac wasn't just transportation, it was a dream on wheels. It was admired for its sleek appearance, bold design lines, and smooth ride, providing a high-class driving experience. The Cadillac was a strong statement of social status, showing its owner was successful, had refined taste, and could afford the very best. Parking 2 cars, especially a Cadillac, in the garage not only showcased financial capability but also affirmed an upscale lifestyle where convenience and style were always prioritized. Among the home and vehicle conveniences mentioned, which item would have made you feel most proud if your family owned it in the 60s? Share in the comments below. Riding lawnmower, turning chores into pleasure. In the 1960s, having a riding lawnmower transformed yard work from a strenuous, effort-intensive chore into a leisure activity. Imagine your neighbors sweating with their noisy, heavy push mowers under the scorching sun, while you comfortably sat on your riding mower, effortlessly gliding across a vast lawn. These machines were very expensive at the time, a major investment that not everyone could afford. Owning a riding lawnmower showed that the family not only could afford the best tools, but also had a large enough property for the machine to be truly useful. A perfectly manicured lawn, lush and even, was a clear sign of pride in the home and the homeowner's prosperity. And having the means to maintain it so perfectly was a clear demonstration of wealth, showing you had the financial capacity to invest in both convenience and the beauty of your outdoor living space. The riding lawnmower symbolized a relaxed lifestyle where heavy labor was replaced by convenience and efficiency. It implicitly stated that you not only owned a substantial property but also had the time and means to maintain it perfectly, a privilege many could only dream of. In-ground pool, the ultimate backyard success symbol. By the mid-1960s, nothing screamed success more clearly and ostentatiously than owning an in-ground pool in your backyard. This wasn't just a recreational amenity. It was a bold statement of financial capability and an upscale lifestyle. Imagine hot summer days while everyone else flocked to crowded public pools. Your family could enjoy privacy and coolness right in your own garden. These pools were not only expensive to install, requiring costs for excavation, building materials, complex filtration systems, and professional labor, but also demanded hefty monthly maintenance fees and utility bills to ensure continuous cleanliness and operation. Hosting pool parties became a way to flaunt this luxury to friends and neighbors, turning your home into the hub of fun and classy gatherings. An in-ground pool was far more luxurious than a temporary above-ground pool. It brought an eternal beauty and sophistication to the landscape. It was irrefutable proof that you not only had enough money to build it, but also to maintain a lavish recreational lifestyle. Owning an in-ground pool wasn't just a personal amenity, but also a social symbol, asserting your family's status in the community. Flocked Christmas tree, sparkling holiday pride. In the 1960s, a Christmas tree sparkling with artificial snow, as if it had just arrived from the North Pole, was a special and unique highlight of the holiday season. While most families still decorated traditional green Christmas trees, a pristine white tree covered in glistening snow exuded a distinct and luxurious beauty, creating an ethereal and elegant festive atmosphere. This tree was more expensive than a regular Christmas tree, and a luxury not everyone could afford. Buying a tree was already costly. The process of treating it to create the perfect artificial snow layer was even more expensive, not to mention shipping and storage costs. Therefore, placing this tree in the front window of the house not only demonstrated the family's pride in their holiday spirit, but also served as a subtle way to showcase their prosperity and refined aesthetic taste. It brought joy and admiration to the entire neighborhood, as passersby would stop to admire its dazzling and unique beauty. A flocked Christmas tree was not just a decoration, but a statement of financial capability and attention to the smallest details in life, even during sacred holiday moments. It showed that you not only had enough money to buy the best things, but also the spirit to create a truly special and memorable Christmas season. Do you have any special memories of visiting a home with 2 living rooms, or a private room for each child? Please share. Hi-fi sound system, entertainment hub and style statement. In the 1960s, a hi-fi sound system was more than just an audio device. It was a full-fledged status symbol, often placed prominently in the living room for all to admire. Imagine a large machine, integrated into an elegant wooden cabinet, typically walnut or mahogany, meticulously polished to look brand new. It wasn't just where music played, it was a luxurious piece of furniture. Reflecting the homeowner's sophisticated taste and trendiness, purchasing one of these systems cost a substantial amount of money, equivalent to a considerable portion of an average family's savings. This cost included not only the main equipment, but also the growing collection of vinyl records you'd need to fully enjoy high-quality music. A hi-fi system delivered a vibrant and authentic sound experience, a rarity at a time when regular radios and record players couldn't offer similar quality. It transformed the home into a miniature concert hall, where family and friends could gather to enjoy their favorite tunes with superb audio quality. Owning a hi-fi sound system was a sign that you not only had money to spend on luxury items, but also a passion and understanding of entertainment artistry. It was a way to display an upscale lifestyle, an investment in refined and valuable experiences. Wearing a fur coat, a silent fashion statement. Wearing a fur coat in the 1960s wasn't just about staying warm. It was about silently proclaiming social status. In an era where winter clothing was mostly practical and simple, fur was reserved for those in higher social strata, a pinnacle fashion item not everyone could attain. From mink and fox to leopard coats, each type carried its own distinct beauty and value, reflecting the wearer's wealth and style. The price of a fur coat could rival an average family's annual grocery bill. This was a colossal investment in attire, and its preservation and cleaning also represented a separate investment, requiring special care to keep the fur soft and lustrous. When a woman donned a fur coat and stepped into a luxurious restaurant or a social gathering, she immediately became the center of attention and admiration. The coat not only provided warmth, but also exuded nobility, elegance, and a distinct class. It symbolized a lavish lifestyle where money was no object when it came to fashion and self-expression. Wearing a fur coat was a silent affirmation of the wearer's success and standing, a way to demonstrate you were living on an entirely different level. American Express card, the golden key of the elite. Using an American Express card in the 1960s was more than just a payment method. It was a distinctive sign of social differentiation and class. Most people back then still used cash or checks for daily transactions. Credit cards were still a new and not widely adopted concept. American Express, with its long history and reputation, positioned itself as a brand for the affluent and successful business class. American Express was marketed specifically to the elite, with significantly higher annual fees compared to other cards, if any existed, and a stringent approval process, requiring applicants to have substantial income and assets. This further heightened its mystique and exclusivity, turning the card into a prestigious badge. Pulling out an Amex card at a luxurious restaurant, a high-end hotel, or a designer store would create a strong impression on staff and those around you. It implicitly suggested that you were a member of an elite group, those with unlimited spending power and trusted by a leading financial institution. An Amex card wasn't just a payment tool, but a pass into a world of luxury and privilege, a clear symbol of the owner's superior social standing and financial capability. Air travel, the first-class experience in the sky. Air travel in the 1960s was rare and reserved for a select few. For most families back then, a vacation meant packing up the car and taking a long road trip to a nearby destination, often camping or staying at local resorts. Airplanes at the time were still considered modern, high-speed, but extremely expensive modes of transport. Airplane tickets were incredibly costly, making air travel a rare luxury. The expense of a flight could be equivalent to several months' salary for an average family, not to mention the cost of accommodation and other services at the destination. The flying experience was seen as first class, from the in-flight service with delicious meals and comfortable seating to the courtesy of the cabin crew. Airports back then also had their own glamour with modern architecture and a luxurious atmosphere, frequented only by those with status and financial means. Being able to boast about an airplane trip to Florida, California, or even abroad wasn't just about recounting a vacation. It was a declaration of your success and ability to enjoy life. Air travel was proof that you not only had enough money to go, but also enough time and freedom to explore the world, a privilege reserved for the truly wealthy. If you could bring one of these symbols of wealth from the 60s into the present, which would it be and why? Having a housekeeper, a life free of household chores. Hiring a housekeeper in the 1960s was a clear and unmistakable sign of wealth. In an era where most homemakers did all household chores themselves, from cooking, cleaning, and laundry to childcare, having a housekeeper meant the family could afford to hire someone to manage the home, significantly freeing up the homeowner's time and effort. This allowed the woman of the house more time to pursue personal interests, engage in social activities, or simply relax and enjoy life without worrying about mundane tasks. A spotless house, always perfectly clean and tidy, showed that the family cared about appearances and had high living standards. The presence of a housekeeper not only ensured the home was meticulously maintained, but also served as a clear symbol of a lavish lifestyle where every convenience was met. It implicitly suggested that your family had abundant financial resources, enough to pay for comfort and support in daily life. Having a housekeeper wasn't just a convenience, but a social statement, affirming that you belonged to a privileged class where your time was valued more than doing tiresome chores yourself. It was an investment in quality of life, a testament to ultimate success. Sending children to private school, investing in a golden future. Sending children to private school in the 1960s was a clear, unmistakable demonstration of a family's wealth and ambition. Most families back then relied on the free public school system, and private education was a lavish option reserved for those with exceptional financial means. Private school tuition at the time was very high, not to mention other incurred costs like uniforms, textbooks, extracurricular activities, and voluntary contributions. However, investing in private school offered numerous superior values. Private schools typically had smaller class sizes, higher quality teachers, and curricula specially designed to maximize students' potential. Furthermore, attending private school provided important social connections, strict discipline, and a polished image that lasted long after graduation, opening up more opportunities in the future. This was a strong signal that your family not only had sufficient financial capability, but also the foresight to invest in your children's future and success, ensuring them the best educational foundation and a wide network of connections. Sending children to private school was proof that you were willing to pay any price for your children to have the very best, a symbol of wealth not just in material terms, but also in intellect and aspiration. Owning a yacht or recreational boat, the ultimate symbol of display. The ultimate symbol of ostentation and an elite lifestyle in the 1960s was owning your own boat, especially a large yacht or a luxurious recreational boat. This wasn't a common hobby, but a lavish lifestyle, a costly pleasure that only those with immense wealth could even consider. While many had to save every penny to buy a car or a small house, you had the means to own an asset that floated on water. The cost of owning such a boat was very high, including not just the initial purchase price, but also continuous maintenance costs, fuel, especially for long trips, docking fees at luxurious marinas, and expensive insurance. All these expenses combined explain why only the affluent could afford one. Owning a yacht allowed your family to explore beautiful waters, host elegant parties on the water, or simply enjoy relaxing afternoons on the lake in style. This was a clear declaration of financial freedom and the ability to fully enjoy life. A yacht was not just a means of entertainment, but also a symbol of power, success, and an unrestricted life, where you can go anywhere you want in the most luxurious way. Owning a vacation home or lake house, a declaration of financial freedom. In the 1960s, owning a vacation home or a lake house was the ultimate and clearest sign that you had made it in a superior way. While most people focused on paying off their single mortgage for their primary residence, For those fortunate enough to own a second property, it was a bold statement of immense wealth and unlimited financial freedom. The second home was often located in beautiful spots like the coast, mountains, or by a lake, providing a perfect escape from daily life. Owning a second home required significant maintenance costs, furnishing expenses to equip it fully, frequent travel costs between the two locations, and often doubled everything from bed linens and dishes to utility bills. This was not only a substantial investment, but also a considerable financial burden that only truly wealthy families could bear without difficulty. A vacation home was proof that you not only had enough money to live comfortably, but also enough to enjoy life, to take long vacations whenever you wished, without worrying about renting rooms or finding accommodation. It was a symbol of an elite lifestyle where relaxation and recreation were paramount, and you had the means to turn that dream into reality. Isn't it fascinating how small things could say so much? From convenient dishwashers to lavish fur coats, from sleek Cadillacs to luxurious vacation homes, these treasures told the world you had made it big in the 60s. Each item wasn't just an object. Growing up in the 1960s, 50 things you'll never forget. Some things were an indispensable part of life in the 1960s, but today they have become a mystery to the younger generation. Just imagine a world without smartphones, without the internet, without remote controls, where every joy and habit was very different. Today, we will take you on a journey to discover unique experiences that only those who lived in this decade truly understand. Ready? These memories will surely make you both surprised and nostalgic. Winding your watch daily. Few modern devices offer the special feeling that this watch did. Imagine waking up every morning, picking up your wristwatch and winding it. This was a daily ritual for most people wearing watches in the 1960s because battery-powered watches were still quite new and not widely popular. The gentle click-clack sound of the winding mechanism was the sound signaling the start of a new day. In an era of simple technology, it was a physical interaction with a personal item, far different from just looking at a phone screen or smartwatch today. Analog clock reading skills were essential. Along with winding, the ability to read an analog clock was absolutely essential. Wall clocks and wristwatches usually only displayed hands and markings or Roman numerals. There were no easy-to-read digital displays or convenient digital notifications.